So this is a review of the Cordoba C5 Classical Guitar. This is a full-size classical guitar. So what I'll do is I'll just talk about the guitar a little bit and show you a little bit about the guitar. Then I'll just play a few little excerpts of music on it. Keep in mind that I'm in a small reflective room, so the sound quality might not be that accurate, but nevertheless, it'll give you an idea of the C5. C5 is kind of one of their entry-level guitars, but it's a little step up from their first entry level. So the prices really range for this guitar anywhere from like around the $400 range. I've seen some for like 300 US, but I think the list price is like 400 US, and in Canadian around the same, although a little bit more sometimes. But it's a real fluctuation in prices when you look online. So a couple features about this guitar, and just so you know, I've reviewed a number of Cordoba guitars because I'm really interested in them for my students. So I've reviewed the C9 and the C9 Parlor and the C10 and the C10 Parlor and the C12, which are all kind of the upper end of the Cordoba lines for the student models. And then there's this one, which is like a little bit lower. And the great thing about this guitar is it has a solid cedar top. So it's a solid piece of wood, and then it's a laminate mahogany back and sides. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with laminate guitars. Most entry-level guitars are laminate guitars. But when you think about it, like I've seen $7,000 guitars with laminate back and sides that Luthiers have experimented with. I've also seen, like, well, when you think about it, all the double tops that you see out there these days, double tops are essentially laminate guitars. It's like more than one piece of wood glued together. Double tops have a very specific purpose in mind when they do the laminate, and some luthiers will too. So although it's a laminate back and sides, I wouldn't let that turn you off. Their upper level models do have a solid back and side, so just so you know. But I don't see any inherent problem with that, especially because the top, I think, is the most important part. That depends on the luthier, of course, but the top is definitely the part of the guitar that makes the biggest difference, I think. And so this has a solid cedar top, and so I think that does it some good justice in terms of tone quality and sustain. So one of the things I've been pretty impressed with Cordoba guitars, for the price that is, I've been impressed with the volume production and the sound overall. I think sometimes because of the heavy finish on factory-made guitars, the sound can sometimes be a little plasticky, but I think the Cordobas really do a pretty good job. They sound really nice. And lots of volume, lots of sustain, so I'm pretty impressed with this guitar. And I actually bought this guitar for my student because I've just started buying guitars for my students to make sure that they get one that is a decent student guitar for them. And I think this is a really great choice. So if you're looking for an entry-level instrument, I think this is one of the best choices out there. I've often recommended Yamaha guitars, but one of the problems with Yamahas is that they don't have a truss rod through the neck. And all the Cordoba lines do have a truss rod. So it means that if it's even warped a little bit, you can make little adjustments to the action to bring the strings either closer or further away from the frets, and to correct any bend or bow in the neck. And I think that's, for entry-level guitars, that's really essential, because although I've been really impressed with Yamaha's quality control in that regard, just the ability to do that is really important, especially if your students don't take care of your guitars as best as they should, especially if it's a kid or something like that. They might be holding it on their back and cramming it in cars and just like not caring much. And being able to have that little bit of adjustment is really great. So there's a truss rod in there, and it comes with an Allen key, and you can adjust it. This one is all set up. I didn't have to do anything to it though, and it doesn't buzz or anything like that. The action is really nice, pretty low, but it's not buzzing, so I'm pretty impressed with that. Like sometimes even on my expensive guitars, it's hard to get that. So what did I say so far? So it's a solid top, mahogany back and sides. It's a full-size guitar. It's a fan brace guitar, so pretty traditional design. The rosette is all wood, traditional. Bridge materials, rosewood. The saddle's actually a bone saddle, so that's nice as well. The neck material is mahogany. The fingerboard is rosewood. Nut width is 52 millimeters. The nut material is bone as well. 19 frets, and etc. etc. There's not much difference between this model and the one below it. This one has the gloss finish. The one below it has a matte finish. I wasn't really able to tell if there's much other difference. So you pay a little bit more for the finish, but I just imagine like there's a little bit more care put into this instrument, although I haven't tested that lower end model. So if I do that, I'll post a video of it. So I think that tells you everything you need to know about the guitar. I know there's lots of reflection from the lights in here, but this gives you an idea of what it looks like. Workmanship is really great. Don't see any flaws. A couple of the other Cordoba guitars have not been in as good condition as this one. I've gotten some of the other ones off Amazon for a deal, and I think maybe they had humidity issues in the Amazon warehouse or something like that. But this one is in really great condition. The workmanship is really great. Pretty clean overall. For the money, I'm very, very impressed. So how does it compare to the C10 and the C9s that I've tried? It has a little bit less pop to the sound, but not much, actually. I think it's pretty impressive. My C10 is a spruce, so it's hard for me to tell the quality difference, but the C10 does seem to have like a slightly more pure sound. But nevertheless, this Cedar has quite a bit of projection. I would say it's pretty much the same volume as the C9 or C10, maybe a little bit less, but maybe not quite as much pop from the trebles, like, although, I don't know, it's hard to say. I think it's not a huge difference. Maybe the tone is just like a little bit nicer on the C9 or C10, but not by much. So let me just play a few excerpts for you. And like I said, keep in mind that the microphones are like right there. I'm in a small reflective room, so it'll sound probably a little bit brighter, a little bit more harsh than it would in a concert hall or a nicer room. This is a brand new guitar. It hasn't been played. This is pretty much the first time it's been played. So I've noticed on my C10 that it got quite a bit better after like a few months. Just kind of like settled in, and maybe the wood just changed a little bit. And I found that the tone actually got a little bit better. So that might happen with this, might not sure. But like I said, I think this guitar is performing really, really well for the price especially. Actually, for the price, it's an awesome guitar. I have to say. With a slightly higher end guitar, you'd get maybe a little bit more sustain, a little bit more of a nice woody sound, maybe more sustain, although I'm not totally convinced that you would. Like, I doubt the design is that much different than the upper end models. So for the price, a wonderful guitar for students, and I would teach on the guitar. I mean, it would be fine. And it's so affordable, so it's pretty incredible that they can produce this guitar for this price range. So in that way, I really support Cordoba guitars so far. Haven't found another line of guitars that I like that much. Yamaha has always been pretty reliable for me, but it's also like just readily available everywhere. And a lot of guitars, there's a lot of great guitar companies out there, and I haven't had a chance to try them all, so Nevertheless, because of the truss rod in these, the affordable price, and the solid tops, I think it's a pretty good buy for an entry-level instrument.